Yes, viewers, the government continues to conduct its best effort to execute and facilitate stalled investment projects, while based on BKPM data, up to June 2020, several investment projects worth hundreds of trillions rupiah has been successfully executed and facilitated. And to know more about it, let's have the clear view on the next graphic. Here it is. We can see through the next graphic that the stalled investment in Indonesia. First of all, we got two indicators in here, which is the unrealized projects cost 298 trillion rupiah, while in the other hand, the realized project is worth 410 trillion rupiah. And we also make another highlights in here. Is it the realizations consist of more than 12 investment projects? And also, one thing that to be underlined in here is that the realizations hit 58% of the total stalled investment. And from these data, 58% of the total stalled investment worth 708 trillion rupiah has been successfully executed. The executions was carried out in the period of October 2019 to July 2020. Head of BKPM, Bahlila Hadalia, explained that hundreds of trillions of these stalled projects could actually have been completed, but COVID-19 pandemic made coordinations with the local government a little bit disrupt, so it needs more time. But nevertheless, BKPM stated that the effort to resolve the stalled investment project will be continuously conducted. So what are the biggest stalled investment projects, both foreign and domestic, that have been successfully executed? The data is in the next graphic. So our research team has gathered the data regarding the biggest stalled investment. Here it is. We can see Rosneft, that the project worth 211 trillion rupiah, and the main issue in the Rosneft case is that the land acquisitions. And moving on to Vale Indonesia, the project worth 39.2 trillion rupiah, and the main issue is regarding environmental impact assessment. And moving on to the third biggest stalled investment, we got Lotte Chemical with the value of project by 61.2 trillion rupiah, and the main issue is the overlapping land. And the fourth one is YTL Group with the value of investment of 38 trillion rupiah, and the main issue is regarding business feasibility guarantee. And since the cooperations between Pertamina and Rosneft was formed in 2017, development projects have been delayed for a long time. One of the causes is the land acquisitions issue, where BKPM has taken steps to resolve the problem of land acquisitions in Tuban Regency intensively. And BKPM noted that the development of land acquisitions for the oil refinery and petrochemical complex construction project in Tuban has reached 92% of the total of 841 hectares. And of course, the progress of the installed investment settlement is a good news in the middle of COVID-19 pandemic. So what are actually the main obstacles in completing the investment project? So we go to the next graphic to find out. Here it is. We got actually three main reasons of the stalled investment in Indonesia. First of all, we can see sectoral arrogance, that we cannot even deny that Indonesia is quite having this kind of problem lately, and the overlapping regulations. So currently Indonesia is facing hyper regulations that government is trying to settle up with these things, and government is really aware of the legal chaos that central region and also the central regulations and regional regulations also have a clash one another. And also the third one is the implementations of the obstacles itself. And stalled investments are often caused by sectoral egos between ministries or from local governments. In addition, the problem that complicates investment realization is not only a matter of complicated regulations, but also in many invisible elements led to the more complicated investment process. With so many investments projects being executed, it is certainly expected to have a positive impact on the domestic employment. So how much investment absorbs the workforce or labors? So let's move on to the next graphic. Here it is. We gather the data regarding labor absorptions of investment activities. So the data we took from first quarter of 2019, and we make a comparisons with the first quarter of 2020. Let's take a look in the domestic investment first. In the first quarter of 2019, the number of labor absorptions is 97,000, but in the other hand, in the first quarter of 2020, the number went up to be 151,000 labor absorptions. And meanwhile, in the other hand, when we talk about foreign investment, the labor absorptions in the first quarter of 2019 reached 137,000 labor absorptions. But meantime, in the first quarter of 2020, the number also went up to be 151,000 labors. And from the total itself, both from domestic investment and foreign investment, in the first quarter of 2019, the number reached 235,000, while in 2020, in the first quarter, the number went up to be 300,000 labor absorptions. And the labor absorptions rate in the first quarter of 2020 rose by 28.75% from the first quarter of 2019, whereas the largest absorptions was from the foreign investment. This proves that with the high realizations of investment, both domestic and foreign, it will have a positive impact on labor absorptions, which means it will reduce unemployment in Indonesia. And meanwhile, how is the investment realization in this year? Is it good enough? Especially in the midst of pandemic. Let's see the data in the next graphic. Here it is. We just scattered the data regarding total domestic and foreign investment. We got three indicators in here. Let's take a look in the 2020 target set by Indonesia's Investment Coordinating Board. So the board has set a target in 2020 in 817 trillion rupiah worth investment. And then for the first quarter of 2020 realizations, it only reached 210.7 trillion rupiah. While the realizations in 2019, as we can see, the number is really big by 809.6 trillion rupiah. And the 2020 target of 807 trillion rupiah is the latest revisions mentioned by BKPM. After the investment realizations was previously targeted to reach 886.1 trillion rupiah, which based on the assumptions that COVID-19 pandemic ended in May. But unfortunately, up to now, the pandemic has not yet finished. Nevertheless, investment realizations throughout the first quarter was still quite good, especially amidst the pandemic. And meanwhile, based on the first quarter of 2020 data, the realizations of foreign investment was dominated by Singapore, China, and also Hong Kong. And with the massive government efforts to facilitate investment projects that have stalled for years, of course, it is expected to absorb more massive labor and also will certainly boost the economy. And viewers, stay tuned to market headlines because we will be right back after this quick break.